So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about paper grain. I've got 2 sheets of paper here that are identical in size, but I want to make sure before I fold them down in my books that I establish which direction the grain is running in the sheet. So the grain of the paper has to do with the direction that the fibers are aligned in the sheet, and that has to do with the manufacturing process and when it's made. And the grain should always run parallel to the spine of your book. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the different parts of a book. So the spine of your book is the side where it's bound, so this hard edge here. And then it has the opening side, which is called the foredge. And then the top of the book is the head, the bottom of the book is the tail. And a couple of other little features about a book. When you open it, you'll notice that there's a little bit of an overhang of the covers on 3 sides. That's called the square, and it should be equal to the thickness of your board. And then this little decorative thing in here is called an end band, and we'll talk a little bit more about those. They do serve a function in the structure of the book, but just for reference, that's what that little thing is. But your book is going to be strongest when all of the folded sheets run parallel to the spine. So you've got to know how to fold down your sheets with the grain in the right direction when you're finished. So the way that I like to do that is with the fold test. So if you take one sheet and you fold it in one direction and then you turn it and you fold it in the other direction, more often than not, you can feel a little bit of resistance one direction and not the other. And the side that has the least resistance is going to be the grain direction. So when I'm folding this sheet this direction, I can feel that it's not as resistant in that way. And so I'm going to mark the grain running in that direction. And when it runs along the long side of the sheet, that's called grain long. Now this guy, if we test it, you'll see that it actually is going the opposite direction. The grain of the paper is running this way, and because that's the short side, it would be considered grain short. Now, most manufactured papers will say right on the label of like a ream of paper which direction it is, but artist papers are hard, and sometimes they don't have a grain if they're like a handmade paper. So it can be a little tricky. There's a couple of other ways to test grain that are listed in Bookbinding Basics, but I just wanted to talk to you about that before you get into folding.